Hello beautiful one, and welcome to today's video. So I was just walking outside. It's pretty cold, and so I was thinking there's something I want to share with you. It has to do with boundaries and how some people are not very respectful when they talk to us. So there was this one time where I was invited for breakfast, and so this woman, I didn't know her. It was, I think, the second time that I saw her. So she comes up to me and she is like, so she's like, you know, how my last name is Haralambidou, and so she's like, you know, in the language of my husband, Kara means black, so this is where your name comes from. And I was, you know, I didn't say anything because I mean, sometimes you're just in shock. There is like a stranger coming up to you out of the blue telling you, you know, this is where your name comes from. Which it's not. In my language, Khara means happiness, and Lambo means shining. So it's a first name and it's Haralabos, which means, you know, shining with happiness, or shining like he is very happy, so he's shining. And this is where the last name comes from this first name. And I also know the word Kara, of course, that means black, but has nothing to do with my name. And up to this day, when I think about this breakfast, I think about that. And it's really sad because I don't think she meant anything by it, but she really, really overstepped. You know, she didn't come to me and she didn't say, you know what, can I share something with you in that language? This and this means black. Is it possible that your name comes from there? So then we would have a conversation about it. So we would exchange, you know, ideas. But just to come to me and just, you know, or it's very sad because every time when I think about this, I think about that scene, and really I have not good feelings. I still take a deep breath and say, okay, she didn't mean bad, and I'm trying to forgive that. Had nothing to do with me, had to do with the person. But still, it's still up to this day. It's not a good feeling to think about this, or you know, there's other examples. And now the Greek people that are watching the video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's about the weight. So this relative that I'm meeting on the street randomly, that also I have not seen many times in my life, because I grew up here in Germany, and well, it's not a direct relative. And so he's just seeing me on the street, and then he comes like, he says, you know, you should really lose weight. And I'm just like, what? So, okay, so this doesn't bother me at all today anymore, because this has been really many years ago. But I'm like, what is going on in the brain of a person to do something like this? I mean, you come into my home, into my zone, uninvited, without knocking, and then you are gonna tell me what I should change, what I did not, what I shouldn't change, or whatever, and I didn't even ask you. How do you think this is okay? So no, people who do this, please explain to me, why do you think this is okay to do something like this, to like stomp on another person and not even asking them if they want to hear what you have to say, if they are ready to talk, if they even want your opinion. Maybe you are not important to them at all. They don't want to hear your opinion. Maybe, you know? Or maybe you will hurt their feelings, as happened with what the the example that I told you. And yeah, I don't know, is this really what you want? Is this what you want to do? Walk around and hurt other people's feelings? Why? For what? I mean, do you feel better afterwards? It's one form of violence, in my opinion. And, you know, we should try to live without violence. So one way to have less violence in our society is to be a little more respectful with the boundaries of other people. And I mean, of course, sometimes something might be on your mind and you want to share with the other person. But first of all, ask them, this and this is on my mind. Is this something, that you want to talk about? Is this something that you want to hear? Is this something that's correct? Even you don't know. Sometimes you don't know. You think you know, but you don't, Yeah. So this is my point. Let's be a little more respectful when we talk to each other. And also people who receive such weird comments, you always have the right to say, stop, or just get up and leave. You don't have to listen to such, now excuse my language, bullshit. Not everybody has the right to just walk up to you and, throw their garbage on you that they just have popping up in their mind because they think they have to express whatever they think they have to express. If it doesn't feel good to you and if you feel violated, then you trust, please, that feeling, and you set a boundary. And that boundary can be, to tell the other person, excuse me, please, I don't want to talk about this right now, or... So I was so surprised in that moment. I didn't do that. And this is, of course, why it's still on my mind. I think if I would have set a boundary back then, if I would have said, excuse me, miss, but I really don't want to talk about this, or excuse me, miss, but you have it a little wrong, which, I didn't have the feeling she really wanted to hear. So probably I should have just said, excuse me, miss, let's talk about something else, and then everything would be fine. But I didn't. So I allowed my boundary, my zone, to be violated. I allowed the person to just stomp into my house, and do what they want to do. Even though I didn't want them to do that. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. So, to both sides, maybe sometimes, we don't mean bad by it, but just try to be a little careful and not just, assume as everything that you think is right and that you think is important to be shared, that's also important for the other person. So you can always ask, can I say something to that? Do you want to hear something about that? Do you want to hear what's on my mind? Or just don't say nothing about personal things. That's personal things, the body of a person is their business. If they did not invite you, even me as a psychologist, I will be very, very, very careful. Oh yeah, many years ago, I went to therapy. And so this was in my 20s, so over 20 years ago. And, I always was, very curvy. All my life. And so and I went to the therapy for another reason. So the therapist in the second session, I think, so she's like, yeah, we can also address your weight. And then I looked at her and said, my weight is not an issue for me. I feel comfortable, I'm healthy, and I'm pretty attractive to men. And I think I'm pretty attractive, so I don't think it's okay that you bring that up, because this is not the reason why I'm here. And then the next session, she apologized to me. Because, as I said, it's not okay. Not when you're a doctor, not when you're a therapist. If the person did not bring up the topic or invite you to talk about it, personal business and body shape or everything that has to do, with the body of a person or with very personal things that they do, with their relationships, with, their views, is none of your business if they don't say, come on, let's sit down and talk about this. Okay? Have a wonderful day. and I see you in the next video.